Yep, thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itina Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Brahmacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Nishatharine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Brahmacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Nishatharine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Tadavallabha Jaya Giridvaradhari Jaya Giridvaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giridvaradhari Jaya Giridvaradhari Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jai Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jai Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gaura Nitai, 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 Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Nitai, Sachi Sundar, Nitai Sachi Sundar, Nitai Sachi Sundar, Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundar, Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundar, Nitai Sachi Sundar, Nitai Sachi Sundar, Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundar. Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya 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 Giri Govardhan, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome Amit, welcome Amrita Radhe, Mataji and Rituan Prabhu and Prakash. Hare Krishna. I hope you're all well. So, what verse shall we discuss tonight? Anyone has any suggestions? What verse shall we look at tonight? Bhagavad Gītā. Amit.
Yes, Prabhu, I think there was a couple of verses which were quite good in chapter 2.
One is enough. Pick one.
Okay, they follow each other. So it's number 63 and 60.
263.
Actually, so I
Yes.
did 62 or 63.
So maybe we can discuss a section of 262 or 63. Okay, let's have a look. Bhagavad Gītā 262.
Yeah. So that's this one, and then 63 as well.
Yes. Yes, there is a what shall I say? There's a sequence of verses, and it goes to 63.
I think 63
Yes.
is a good one. I think 63.
Well, we'll do both.
They
We'll
kind
do
of
both.
connect. They kind of connect.
These are both very important. One verse depends on the other one. Okay. Would you want to read the Sanskrit slowly and with Om Namo Bhagavate
Yes.
Vasudevaya?
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Diya Yato Disyayan Pumsa. Sangyas Tesu Pajayate. Sangyat Sanjayate Pama. Pamat Kuro Bijayate.
Okay. And read as a translation as well.
When contemplating the object of the senses, the person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises.
Perfect.
One who is not Krishna consciousness is subject to material desires whilst contemplating the object of the senses. The senses require real engagement, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of sense objects. And the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridasi Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi. But Haridasi easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to higher taste for spiritual enjoyment and the association of Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not therefore in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires.
Okay, thank you, Amit. Hare Krishna. Let's go through it step by step. Translation again. While contemplating the object of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. That's actually quite a crucial verse, an important verse of Bhagavad Gītā. Right? So, you can mute your microphone again, Amit. We don't get any noise. Here's the important point is The senses, what we're speaking, the senses we're speaking of, the sense of seeing, the sense of hearing, the sense of smelling, the sense of tasting, the sense of touch. So these are, and the mind is sometimes classed as a sense as well. So, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and the mind. So 6 senses, the sixth sense is the mind. So these senses are our doors to this material world. There's a doors, there's the openings, there are holes in the body. Holes for the eyes, for the nose, for the ears, for the mouth, and so on. So we contacting this world through these senses. And these senses are very powerful. They want pleasure. We all want pleasure, in fact. Everybody wants happiness, not only human beings, animals as well. We are all pleasure-seeking individual souls. So, having forgotten our original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, we seeking pleasure to these 5 senses and the mind. We shall not forget the mind. Even when the 5 senses are, these doors to the 5 senses are closed. Let's say we going to sleep, we're closing our eyes. The ears we cannot really close, but let's say the room is quiet. And there is nothing to smell in particular. And there is certainly nothing to taste, to eat. We're lying in bed. So the senses are more or less inactive. Now what about the 6th sense, the mind? The mind becomes very active. It is always very active. But when the other senses are ready to rest, and while we sleep at night, the senses are resting. But the mind is active. So active all the time. Therefore I said just a week, 2 weeks ago, Srila Prabhupada is saying, I'm just repeating, that when we lay down to sleep, it is a very good time to look at the mind. The senses are resting. The mind is active. We are observing the mind. Observing the mind. We are the observer. And the mind is our object. Like we the seer in the daytime, we see so many things. We're looking at so many things. Let's say we're driving by car. We're looking at so many things. There's so many cars, so many people, road, buildings, red light, green light. So these are the objects of sight. We are seeing, we are behind. We are the seer. So in the evening, we are the observer, observing our own mind. So we are different from the mind. So this sense is bombarding us with so many impulses. Let's enjoy what we see. Let's enjoy what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, what we touch. Let's enjoy happiness through the senses. That's a normal status quo of the living entities. Everybody is doing that. We're looking around in this world. We're looking around socially. Everybody is doing like that. Everybody is trying to get some pleasure through the senses and through the mind also. In fact, most people think that's the goal of life. That is what life is all about. As much pleasure we can get through the eyes, as much pleasure we can get through the ears, through the smell, through the taste, big one. So much variety of tasting different foods. People flocking in the restaurants like wild. Full. Restaurants are always full. Not only on the weekend, even in the week. Full. And if you go to the supermarket, it's also always full with people buying. Not only what they need, but what they like to enjoy. People don't buy. Some people, but generally people buy way beyond their needs. They buy what pleases their senses. Supermarkets means generally eating. So they buy in the supermarket what tastes nice, exciting, something different without discrimination. Most people have no discrimination. They are habituated to taste the taste of blood, of meat. So they're addicted to that. So they have no sense of that should be done, should not be done. They don't follow any regulations. They don't follow any scriptures. They just follow the tongue. The tongue is very strong. We're praying in our prasadam prayers, please, Lord Chaitanya, help me to control my tongue. So the Krishna conscious process. Now let's first say, people who are a little bit more advanced, they can see that we are slaves to the senses. We are slaves. If the tongue wants to taste something nice, what comes into our mind, what we see displayed in the grocery shop, in the supermarket, then the desire arises, I want to taste that. Or someone talks about it. We hear about, oh, there's a nice restaurant, they're making such nice this and that. Then the desire awakes, I want to taste that also. With my tongue, with my palate, I want to taste that. So, we are, people in general are, slaves to the senses. The senses are dictating. Now you enjoy this. Now you see something nice. Okay, more. More variety. More outrageous. The senses, if there is no discrimination, no control, they will try to enjoy the most abominable thing, like meat eating, or for the eyes, pornography. Yes, more outrageous. I need to satisfy my eyes. I need to satisfy my palate, my tongue. So many things. Ears. Oh, so much music. So many things. So many Gramya Katha. Material talks. People talking. Incredibly. I don't know if you have ever going through life, you're going through in the shops, on the street, everywhere, people constantly talking. What's it talking about? They're constantly talking completely irrelevant things. Completely Gramya Katha, completely gossip. Or someone is talking about their problems, someone is talking about their problems, they're talking about the latest fashions, the latest this, the latest that, and they're talking so many useless talks. Again, that's the tongue. The tongue has two propensities, to taste and to talk. So if the senses are not, if there is no restraint, no regulation, then they're becoming wild. There's a nice example given in Bhagavad Gītā. The senses, and there's a nice picture also in Bhagavad Gītā, where there is a chariot with 5 horses. And each horse has a plaque on their neck. And one plaque shows the eyes, the tongue, the ears. So the different senses are represented by the 5 horses. 5 senses, 5 horses. And we are the passenger in this chariot. And the driver, he has lost the reins. The mind is a driver. The 6th sense, the mind is a driver. Now, what is the function? The mind will, he desires pleasure. The mind, the materialistic mind, desires pleasure. Everyone's mind wants pleasure. Now, the only pleasure the mind in material consciousness, the only pleasure the mind knows is a pleasure through the senses. So this chariot with a mind as a driver, and he holds the reins, and the horse is going wherever the mind wants to go. We are slaves. We are sitting inside there. It's just like you going in a taxi and you say, I want to go to this and this address. And the taxi driver drives wherever he wants. And you can't get out. The car is driving. You say, stop, stop. Or no, the taxi driver is just driving around the town and the meter is ticking and you have to pay for it. That have been some real stories. Taxi in India, particular. The taxi driver, you don't know your way around. You tell him an address, and he drives around the block and this block and this block, and for which is a short journey. He drives around for an hour, and then he charges you. So we are pretty helpless in that chariot, where the mind is driving and the horses are going in all kind of directions. That's our situation. We are slaves of our senses, even though we are happily declaring we are free. We live in the free world. Oh, free world. The free Western world. Everything is available to enjoy. We are free. We are not free. We are free in some ways. We are not in a dictatorial, tyrannical, autocratic society, but we are not free because we are dictated by the mind and the senses. How can we be free? But people don't understand that. They think they are free, but they're not free. They're slaves. Slaves of the mind and the senses. So the senses and the mind need engagement. And there Krishna consciousness comes in. There are some little bit advanced, they're seeing these situations that we are helplessly serving our senses and mind. How can we stop it? That's not good. It's not good that we slaves of the mind and we want to be free. The yogis, they want to be free of the dictate of being slaves of the mind and the senses. So they're doing all kind of austerities. There are all kind of austerities in yoga. They're sitting in very awkward positions. They're doing breathing exercise in the Hatha yoga system. They're doing the Eightfold Mystic Path in the Ashtanga yoga system. And I have seen some pictures and video of yogis in the hot summer in India. They're placing little pieces of cow dung in a circle around themselves. They're sitting on an asana. They're sitting cross-legged in some asana position. And then they're lighting that cow dung in a ring of fire around them, in the hot sun from top and in a ring of fire. They're torturing the body. Why? To control the senses. But it is almost impossible. Others performing tapasya, so standing in the ice-cold water waist deeper for extended long times, another way of torturing the bodies. Others fasting, tapasya, austerity, fasting. And so many ways. Of course, it helps to some degree if we don't regulate our tongue, it is impossible to control the senses. The tongue is the most voracious and the most uncontrollable sense. If we control the tongue and our eating and the belly, then the other senses are much more easily controlled. So, but generally it is not working to deny that contact between the senses and the sense objects. Yogis are meditating. Very difficult. Getting the senses under control and then meditating. As soon as one sense is agitated, let's say there is a scent, a smell drifting into the meditator's nose, immediately his mind is drawn away from his meditation. Immediately the senses are aroused. Even one sense is aroused. Therefore, when someone is meditating, or when yogis are meditating, or even we are meditating, japa meditating, that is our meditation. That is also called japa meditation. Then generally we close the eyes. Not why? Not to be distracted by the objects for the eyes. Because if we're looking at things and then the distraction is immediately there. Even one sense. And we're choosing a place which is quiet, not with people talking to us. How can we meditate? Meditation means controlling the senses and the mind, with the aim of perceiving the super soul in the heart. A successful yogi will have contact, will be in samadhi. Means he is, the senses and the mind is controlled, and he has the darshan of the super soul. So these things are going on. So very, very difficult to control the senses even through the yoga process. Arjuna, when Krishna spoke with him, Arjuna, about the yoga, Ashtanga, eightfold yoga system, Arjuna said, that's not possible for me, Krishna. I can never practice it. So Arjuna is such a great warrior, such a powerful kshatriya, such a great soul. We don't compare anywhere close to that. And Arjuna says, Krishna, this sense control yoga is not possible for me. Not possible. So it is not possible. If it's not possible for Arjuna, it's not possible for us. So, but Krishna, at the end of the 6th chapter, the last verse of the yoga chapter, 6th chapter, he gives him a hint. What's the best of yogis is always abide in me. And so that is a solution. If sense control is not possible, or at least not for a prolonged time, we may meditate, we may even be successful of closing the doors of the senses and the mind, subduing the mind. We may be even successful, but how long can we do that? Maybe half an hour, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. But then the meditation has to stop. Latest when our sitting posture becomes uncomfortable, when the belly demands something to eat, when the throat, the tongue demands something to drink, then our meditation is broken. Then we have to start from scratch again. So the Krishna conscious process is very, very different. In Krishna consciousness, we don't deny the senses contacting the object of the senses. We don't deny eating palatable food. We don't deny the eyes to seeing beautiful form. We don't deny the ears of hearing beautiful talk and sound. So we don't deny the senses. The Bhakti Yoga process does not deny the senses, but we engage the senses in a positive way. So the senses engaged in sense gratification and fulfilling our lusty desires, which there is no end to it. And Krishna says also in Bhagavad Gītā, this lust, it burns like fire. Why is it burning like fire? We're running after the object of the senses. We're running after sense pleasures. And we think that's what I want. That will make me happy. But why is it said it burns like fire? Because we cannot get satisfaction. Everybody knows that. We have a desire, we fulfill it, and we think and hope, now I'm satisfied. Then immediately the next desire is there. And we fulfill that, the next desire. The next desire. So we're constantly running behind an endless stream of desires, but we never satisfied. We never satisfied. We never achieve peace. Because we all want peace. We want happiness. We want peace. We don't want to run after the object of the senses. It is exhausting. It is tiring. The whole life running after is just like the donkey with a carrot in front of him. He just thinks one more step and I can eat the carrot. But the carrot is on a stick in front of him and the donkey is moving and the carrot is moving with the donkey. And the poor donkey here, or foolish donkey, he doesn't understand. The carrot is moving. He just thinks, one more step and I have the carrot. One more step. And he keeps on walking and walking and walking. That is our situation. We keep on walking and walking, and my desires, a bigger house, a bigger car, bigger TV, a bigger this, a newer iPhone, and this and that will all, my desires will be fulfilled. New preparations, another restaurant. This wasn't so good. Let's try another one, another dish, another taste. And so we're running after our desires, but we don't get satisfaction. We get a little bit of a sense, what shall we call it? Excitement of the tongue. But how long does it last? If a meal in a restaurant, half an hour, 45 minutes, or you can eat a meal for an hour, maybe. And then that satisfaction is gone. Then you're full for some time, maybe. And the belly doesn't demand anything. Also, even the belly is full, the tongue keeps on demanding. Okay, let's eat a dessert. I'm full. No, let's have that ice cream. Let's have that. So we never get really satisfaction. And even if we're satisfied after a good meal, then a few hours later, we want another good meal. And we never really be satisfied. The eyes are never really be satisfied. The ears, the sense of touch, the sense of taste, smell. And the mind is just running actively after sense pleasure, but never be satisfied. So when we, half of our life, we going on like this. And in our youth, this passion, these lusty desires are very strong. Sometimes people think when you get older, the senses, that power, that lust of the senses will decrease by old age. But that's not the case. The senses may be even unable to enjoy anymore. Because the senses are just, we think generally of the senses, they will be always that strong. Strong means they will always enjoy so much pleasure. Never mind if we're 20, 30, 50, 70, 80 years old, but that's not the case. That's not the case. The senses are worn out. And we know that by people who engage in a high degree of sense gratification, they don't get that same pleasure anymore of that same sense gratification. They have to enjoy in more and more outrageous way. So that even the level of sense gratification cannot be maintained of giving the same pleasure or so-called satisfaction. So there is a nice little story when the king asked his secretary, how long, at what age, obviously the king had some trouble controlling his senses. So he asked his secretary, who was a very wise Brahmin. I don't know, was he Chanakya Pandit or it doesn't matter. So he asked, how long does that intense passion for sense gratification, that desire, how long will a man have the sex desire? That was his question, because the sex desire is the ultimate enjoyment of all the senses, the strongest. Therefore, it's also the strongest binding force. So he inquired, how long will that sex desire in a man, how long? 50 years, 60 years, 80 years? So how long? He thought, obviously, within his mind, when I get older and I'm physically not anymore able to enjoy sex life, then the sex desire will also disappear. So, but his secretary, who was a very wise man, he had to disappoint him. He said, that sex desire will be there up till the point of death. And the king immediately said, no, that's not possible. I don't believe that. Up till the point of death? Even physically, we are not able to enjoy sex life anymore. But we still, the desire will be up till the point of, I don't believe that. Then the secretary said, my dear king, I have a friend who is just about to die. And let's visit him and we'll find out if sex desire is there even up to the point of death. He just has a few days more. He will be dying within a week. But don't come alone. Bring your beautiful young daughter with you. The king couldn't really understand why and what. So he did what his secretary told him. And they all three went to the dying man. And as soon as the king, his friend, the secretary, and his beautiful young daughter entered, the dying man couldn't get his eyes off the girl. The dying man couldn't, even so, his king was right in front of him. The king of the country, who he served all his life. The king personally was in front of him, but that man couldn't get the eyes of the young girl. Then the king could understand that sex desire is as strong there up till the point of death. Now that is very frightening. Up till the point of death. We want to get rid of that desire. Illicit desire. The body cannot even function anymore. Sex life physically is not existent. But the mind doesn't get old. The mind is always fresh. The mind wants to enjoy just by looking at this young girl up till the point of death. So that's just, this short little story is just showing us how difficult it is to control the senses. Therefore, Krishna says, engage the senses, don't deny the senses, engage the senses in my service, connect the senses with me, O Arjuna. In whatever way, connect the senses with me. Because Krishna is all spiritual. So that's a question of consciousness, and that is Krishna consciousness. Instead of directly engaging the senses to fulfill our lusty desires, involve Krishna. Krishna has to be involved. That is a regulating principle. Krishna. So instead of lusting over food, which the tongue is screaming, I want to enjoy, and the mind is saying, yes, why not? Let's enjoy that food without any restriction. Never mind what kind of food that is. So instead of the senses running away and wanting their satisfaction, so we involve Krishna. We offer the food. Of course, then immediately there's some restriction. Okay, not meat, no fish, no eggs. Immediately. But if we can do that little restriction. Not so difficult. No meat, no fish, no eggs. Not a big deal, really. So if we can do that, give me one moment. I have here a message, I think, that my battery runs out. Just one moment. No, there was another message. Battery is just fine. So, if we involve in Krishna in all of this, and we offer our food, the senses are still engaging, the tongue is still tasting palatable food, but because it's in connection with Krishna, we connecting with the essence, with the spiritual essence of everything. So then we have to, of course, understand the spiritual energy, what you speak about Krishna. But anything related to Krishna is also Krishna. So we spiritualizing, we actually is so strong, connecting with Krishna, all our senses, connecting them with Krishna is purifying our lusty desires. That's amazing. We have to try it out to realize that, to believe that. We have to try it out. We have to do it and see the result. Otherwise, it's just theoretical. Yes, I can believe it, I cannot believe it. No, we do it. Offer nice foodstuff to Krishna, and then you take part in the remnants. And it will, in time, it will purify the senses. The lusty desires of the tongue wanting to eat any and anything will decrease more and more and more. Same with all the other senses. So Krishna consciousness is not forbidding to use the senses. No, it is a process of getting something better, because actually the pleasure from using the senses but connected with Krishna is a many, many times more pleasurable than without Krishna. So basically, enjoying without Krishna or enjoying with Krishna. This is the alternative. Another example can be given, and anybody who has been in India, he knows that. You walking and then, let's say, Imlital, holy place, desire tree there, beautiful sacred place. Of course, you want to offer your obeisances there, and you put your shoes aside and barefoot, and you offer obeisances. And before you know, when you come out, a monkey has stolen your shoes. And the monkey is sitting in the tree and nibbling on your beautiful shoes, which you took so much endeavor to make sure you get some comfortable flip-flops, which will accompany you throughout your journey in India and will be suitable for your feet. So the monkey is chewing on your flip-flops up in the tree. You're shouting, "Give me my flip-flops back." The monkey doesn't care about your shouting. And then an old Baba comes and says, wait. And he gets a banana. He throws a banana in the tree at the monkey. The monkey knows banana is much more better than the shoe. He catches a banana and lets go of the shoe. Why? Because he got something better. So that's a method for Krishna consciousness. We get something more enjoyable. We get something better. Much, much better. We get greater pleasure. Unending pleasure. So more we practice, so more and more and more. And our lusty desires disappearing more and more and more. And we want more Krishna and more Krishna and more Krishna. So that's a Krishna conscious way. That is a way of controlling the senses. Not denying the senses, controlling the senses by higher engagement. Let's read that purport again. One who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires, which we just have at length explained, while contemplating the objects of the senses. So that is a very dangerous, that's what the verse itself says, while contemplating the object of the senses. It's not immediately when we look at something. When we look at something, very quick, the lusty desires are not necessarily aroused. But when we look a little bit longer, that is called contemplation. When we think a little bit longer, when the mind dwells on it, we all know what is the difference between looking at something or the mind dwelling on it. You thinking in a passing thought of thinking of some palatable food. Let's take the food example again. And on a passing thought, okay, and then you think of something else. But when you contemplate, when you're dwelling on that food, and the mind is dwelling on it for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, then attachment is coming. Then the mind is saying, I want that. That's what I want. And if we don't know, we are not the mind. If we are identifying with the mind, we must have it. Then it's too late. It's too late. We cannot stop the chain reaction. We have no control. The mind is very, very strong. So it pulls us. And we are forced to enjoy in that particular way. So contemplating. So here Srila Prabhupada says, one who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the object of the senses. Then immediately lusty desires, material desires, same thing. The senses require real engagement. So that engagement of contemplating the object, that is not real engagement. That's material engagement, artificial engagement. That's not according to our nature. Real engagement. And if they're not engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. Means they will certainly lusty desires, materialistic desires will arise. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods, because Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are the leaders of the demigods. They're all subjected to the influence of sense objects. So if even the demigods are, and even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are subjected to the influence of the objects of the senses. So what to speak of us? And the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. That's the only way. Become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva, an example, was in deep meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and Kartikeya was born. But when Haridas Thakur, he was a young devotee, strong body, he was allured by Maya, Chintamani, a prostitute, which was sent to Haridas to make him fall down by the local Muslim ruler. Haridas Thakur he was just sitting there in the forest and meditating and chanting all day long. And people came to him, became very famous. And the Muslim ruler became envious. Just see, someone becomes famous, someone else becomes envious. So he had several prostitutes calling for them and explained them, you go and try to divert this Haridas Thakur from his meditational chanting practice. Dress very attractively, alone in the forest, expose yourself in some ways, and then when he engages with you in sexual pleasure, then I will be waiting with my guards and we arrest him. I think, what a cheater he is. So that was his plan. And Chintamani, she was an incarnation of Maya Devi. She came and expressed herself. She wanted union with him. And Haridas Thakur said, yes, I will fulfill all your desires, but I have to finish my prescribed number of rounds. So many lakhs of rounds. All day long he chanted. So he had set a particular prescribed number of rounds. So you just wait here. And Haridas, he had a little cottage and a tulsi plant. So he sat there, and Chintamani, she waited, and she thought, yes, surely, after he has finished chanting, I will seduce him, as the king has ordered me. But then night came, and Haridas hadn't finished his rounds, and so he said, dear lady, why don't you go home and come back tomorrow? And tomorrow I surely shall fulfill your desires. And the king was all excited, said he could arrest Haridas. And again, she came next day, and he had to chant his rounds first. So that was going on, I think, 3 days. And after that 3 days, she has been becoming purified. She understood what she was about to do to disgrace a saintly person and a great saintly person, Haridas Thakur, and he was not agitated at all. He just gave us a chance of hearing the holy name in front of Tulsi and sitting there and hearing, and she had a change of heart. Totally. She became his devotee. She became his disciple. And he explained Krishna consciousness to her. And eventually he left his kutir, his dwelling place, and said, you stay here and you do as I have done. You chant Hare Krishna and depend on Krishna. And don't worry about your maintenance. People will come and give you whatever you need. And then he left and she has become a saintly person. So while Lord Shiva was agitated by Parvati, and Lord Brahma had a similar story with his daughter, but Haridas Thakur, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord by chanting Hare Krishna continuously, he was not swayed at all. In fact, he made Chintamani a devotee. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying, Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above-mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, there was a verse earlier on. And sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression. That's what we talked about. The yogis and austerities and sitting in the fire and standing in the wall. These are artificial repression. So such person is sure to ultimately fail. For the slightest thought, and here we're speaking of the mind is thinking. Not even the senses are in contact with the sense objects. The slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desire. So if a yogi, if that is a problem with a yogi, what to speak of us? The slightest thought of sense pleasure will pull him down from his austerity, agitate the senses to gratify his desire. So that any question to this verse so far? We're going to the next one. Any question, any comment? Amrita Radhe, Rituan, Amit.
No, Prabhu, thank you. No comment.
No, Prabhu, it makes sense. Yeah, no questions.
Okay, Rituan Prabhu, why don't you read us 63?
Yes, Prabhu. क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this direction. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumuksho bhi parityago vairagyam palgu kathyati. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-25. By development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna consciousness artificially try to avoid material objects. And as a result, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so-called renunciation is called falgu, or less important. On the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the absolute being is absolute, being impersonal, cannot eat. Whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables, a devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of a downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, where a non-devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist therefore cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation, and for this reason a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. Surrender unto me.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. What a nice purpose, isn't it? What a nice purpose.
Yes,
there is a very nice story. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, he was like always with his devotees, they were dancing and chanting all day long in the street. And Varanasi, there were many Mayavad sannyasis there, under the leadership of Prakashananda Saraswati. He was a leader of the Mayavad sannyasis. And the Mayavad sannyasis doing exactly what Srila Prabhupada here, the impersonalists, they doing exactly what Srila Prabhupada described here. They're studying Vedanta, they're avoiding all palatable food, doing austerities and sleeping just on a mat on the hard floor and trying to curtail the senses, which are so strong, so not to fall prey to the senses. So they started to criticize Lord Chaitanya. Oh, this sannyasi is supposed to study Vedanta like we do. Why is he dancing in a sentimental way and chanting with all kinds of low-class people? And so that criticism was going around. And the devotees with Lord Chaitanya, they became very morose. They felt very agitated, said, these sannyasis, these Mayavadis, they're criticizing their Lord Chaitanya. So they went to Lord Chaitanya. And because the sannyasi said, why doesn't he come sit with us and we all study Vedanta? So the Lord Chaitanya's devotees said, why don't you meet this? We cannot tolerate their speaking of you like this. So on their plea, Lord Chaitanya agreed to meet the Mayavad sannyasis. So when he came, they were already there, assembled, and in a humble manner, he sat down where they keep the shoes. But he was so effulgent. Immediately everybody in the room was astonished to see Lord Chaitanya, so effulgent. And they said, sir, don't sit here in a dirty place where the shoes are kept. Come, and they gave him a seat. And then they had a discussion on Krishna consciousness, on Vedanta Sutra, which they favored the Vedanta Sutra because they could word juggle, grammatical jugglery. They could derive meanings out of the Vedanta Sutra which suited their mindset, which suited their what they were doing. So, and then Lord Chaitanya, he gave his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which was very, very different. And of course, the Vedanta Sutra are some aphorisms. So with grammatical jugglery, one can, under no guidance of a devotee, one can get all kind of indirect meanings out of it. But therefore we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, who is in commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and there's nothing to juggle with the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's clear as the blue sky. So when they heard Lord Chaitanya's explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, the devotional explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, and that's all described in detail in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in detail, what the arguments were and forth and back. So when they heard, they suddenly realized they are in the wrong. They are in the wrong. And they expressed, actually, we never liked what we were doing. We were now hearing you, because what we have been doing, that was dry. The dry mental speculation. We had no pleasure in all of this. We just carried on. It's just almost like you could say, anybody has ever eaten any chewing gum, and you're chewing that same chewing gum for the next 6 months or a year. You're just putting in the box at the evening, next morning you take it out, and there's no more taste inside that chewing gum. It becomes hackneyed, it becomes tasteless. Taste is gone out. At the beginning there was a bit of taste, yes. So it's just like that. And they said, we never really enjoyed these dry philosophical studies. And your explanation and your bhakti engagement and devotional service, that is much more palatable to us. And they all became devotees. 10,000, I think. Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi, they all became bhaktas. No more impersonalists. So they changed. Suddenly they could satisfy their senses by proper spiritual engagement and not by falgu renunciation, false renunciation, artificial renunciation. So properly the senses were actually engaged, but in devotional service with the Lord. So that's a little example what Srila Prabhupada is talking here about. The so-called renunciation is falgu, or less important. On the other hand, the person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the absolute being is impersonal, cannot eat. So that's a problem. The Lord is impersonal, he cannot eat. We cannot offer food, so it's a no-brainer, really. We cannot offer food and we cannot enjoy Krishna Prasadam, a higher taste. We're just eating to maintain our body something, but without enjoyment. In fact, these Mayavadis, these impersonalists, are trying to avoid the enjoyment, especially eating things which don't taste very nice. No wonder that they're all, when they realized we can actually enjoy food, which is offered to Krishna, Krishna Prasadam. Whereas the impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables, a devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Everything becomes spiritualized. There is no danger of a downfall. Devotees take Krishna prasadam and the devotees reject it as, non-devotees reject it as material. So impersonalists, Srila Prabhupada says here, therefore cannot enjoy life due to this artificial renunciation. For this reason, a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the material pool, of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even so rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. That, as we discussed also the other Saturday, therefore the Brahmachoti, the impersonalists, also fully spiritual, they generally cannot stay there because they don't have not the pleasure. But that is another discussion. So, very clear. That is the chain of the downfall. Let's look at the verse again. Contemplating the sense objects a little bit too long. We're contemplating, we're thinking of any particular sense enjoyment. Then we become attached. The mind becomes attached. Oh, no, I like that idea. I like, we're holding on to it. We're becoming attached. We know what is attachment. We don't want to let go. We're becoming attached. We may be unattached, but if we contemplate a little bit too much, too long, then suddenly attachment is there. Oh, we must have, I want this. And then that attachment, lust develops. Lust, I must have it. The mind's we're lusting over something. We know what that means. We're lusting over something. Lust develops. It's a very strong attachment. And it's, Arjuna asked Krishna, how is it that we sometimes driven to act in a way we shouldn't act, as if by force. And Krishna says, it's lust only, Arjuna, the all-devouring enemy of this world. So we all know what lust is. Not only sexual lust. Lust over food, lust over seeing something nice, touching something nice, hearing something nice. It's all lust. Lust means fulfilling our desires without Krishna. And fulfilling our desires with Krishna, that is love, the opposite. And so more and more, then that rising, we're rising in love. So, contemplating attachment, lusty desires, and it's a very strong want. And then if we cannot get it, if it's curtailed by another person or by our inability to satisfy our lusty desires, then we become angry. I've seen that. If someone really is strongly attached, he wants something and it is curtailed by someone else, then he becomes angry. And then, from anger, then a person becomes delusioned. We have seen also, if people become very angry, they're in a delusion. Then a man is beating his small child because something went wrong and the child has done something wrong and is beating the small child, and the woman shouts, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to kill him. And he's so angry. Or he's fighting with a friend. He's so angry that he forgets. He's completely in delusion. What's he doing? Anger. Red hot anger. Hot head. And from that delusion, bewilderment of memory. What you doing? You're beating our small child. He has forgotten. He's so angry. He's so deluded. His memory is bewildered. It's his own son who's beating her, just because he's so angry. And then when that memory is bewildered, memory also in a material sense, but memory that we remember who we really are and what is the purpose of life, and that's all bewildered. When this memory is bewildered, then even whatever we had on little intelligence, that's also lost. Intelligence, we discriminate. Or Shastra tells us this or that, or even on the material platform, he has lost his intelligence, he's beating his own son. Very hard, very badly, almost killing him. So he's lost his intelligence. It's gone. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. One falls down again on the material platform. So that's the meaning of this verse. Very instructive. So where can we stop that chain reaction? By not contemplating the object of the senses. By drawing the mind away in good time and drawing the mind to Krishna. Therefore Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me, engage your mind in me. Like Haridas Thakur, sitting there, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So it was easy not to be bewildered by the prostitute in some seducing postures and dressed in a set way as well. He was not bewildered, he was engaged in the service of the Lord. So, therefore, we should regularly chant our prescribed rounds without fail. And we should, beyond that, we should continuously chant throughout the day, having Krishna very close by. Manmana bhava mat bhakto, always think of me. So if we constantly chanting Hare Krishna, wherever we go, whatever we do, loud, silently, in the mind, let's keep that mantra going. It will not only purify us and our senses, but we are engaged in remembering Krishna. The senses are engaged in a higher purpose. So how can the senses then contemplate the material objects in a material way, in a lusty way, without Krishna? Then it becomes more and more impossible. And that is called Krishna consciousness. Okay. Any questions or comments? Amrita Radhe Mataji, are you here?
No, Prabhu, she's in the kitchen downstairs.
Okay. So you say something, Rituan Prabhu. Something practical.
Yeah, like as you mentioned, as that higher taste, like one must get the higher taste in order to lose that whatever, I mean, the taste which is inferior. So Prabhupada also gave one example from like in context of this, using the analogy of some Indian fruits. So Prabhupada gave one example that if a person who has never been to India or never tasted Indian like tropical fruits like mango and jackfruit, so when he comes to India for the first time and he is given jackfruit, so jackfruit is like ripe jackfruit is quite sweet. So he takes jackfruit.
It's beautiful. Jackfruit is ripe. Jackfruit is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yes. So he takes the jackfruit and he likes it and he keeps on eating jackfruit, but he has never tasted mango. Nowadays, mango is even available in UK, but I think like at the time of Prabhupada, mango was like mango and jackfruit were rare, I think, in UK and in US, I think, I don't know. So Prabhupada says that if now, like once he got the taste of jackfruit, now somebody brings ripe mangoes to him, and he doesn't know what the taste of mango is, but he has like he likes the taste of jackfruit. So when he's offered this mango, he says that no, jackfruit is best. It's the best thing that has ever happened to me. I mean, the taste wise. So he keeps on eating the jackfruit, but he ignores the mango, which is like better than jackfruit. It's said that it's mango is much like jackfruit is good, but mango is the best. So ultimately, somebody like forces this mango and like induces him to take the mango, and once he takes one bite of the mango, he finds this even more delicious than the jackfruit, and he gives up jackfruit and starts having mango. So Prabhupada compared jackfruit with material pleasures which are temporary. Though they might be at first it might look quite enticing, but they are temporary. And Prabhupada compares the spiritual pleasure as that of mango. So he says once we taste mango, we'll not look towards jackfruit again because we have got the higher taste. Similarly, once we get the taste, now I'm talking about myself, like it's like I'm doing something which is as a practice. Maybe it's not like a spontaneous attraction, but once doing this practice, once we go on what Krishna says, abhyas, practicing, and we get the spontaneous taste of devotional service, then we'll never look backwards towards material desires. So that is Srila Prabhupada's analogy.
Beautiful example, beautiful analogy. Very nice. Huh? So the question could be raised, how do we get the taste?
Yes, Prabhu, even in Srimad Bhagavad Gītā, Krishna says that abhyasa yogena, that we need to keep on practicing. And Prabhupada also mentions in Bhakti Rasamrita and everywhere, that Srila Rupa Goswami has said that if we keep on doing our sadhana bhakti, then gradually sadhana bhakti means we do follow the rules and regulations and whatever the instructions that we have received from our spiritual master, from Srila Prabhupada. If we keep on doing them, even at first, we may not like it or we may not have the taste for it. But if we keep on doing it, thinking that it as the instruction given by Srila Prabhupada or by the spiritual master as a duty, and diligently and sincerely, if we follow it, gradually the spontaneous taste will come. And then it will not be, then we'll reach the stage of nishtha. And then gradually there will be ruchi. Ruchi means attraction, I think, yeah. And then asakti is attachment. So it's like a ladder, but we have to persevere. We have to keep on keep on practicing as per the instruction of the spiritual master. And then one day, one day, maybe not in this birth, maybe in this birth, we'll get the spontaneous love and get that taste for the holy name, for hearing Hari Katha and everything, and love for Godhead.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you. That was very nice. And I can only, out of personal experience, attest that. Taste will come. There is no question about it. Taste will come by practicing and practicing and practicing and just doing what we have been instructed. At the beginning, even at the very beginning, things, it just, Shastra says, or Srila Prabhupada says, it's just like poison. Poison, because no meat, no fish, no eggs, no intoxication, no tea and coffee, what you speak of liquor and smoking, no illicit sex, no gambling. That's like poison. That's all what people are after. Their whole life is directed. That is a pleasure in life. So suddenly you have to give it up. No, that's like poison. But if we gradually, most people don't follow these 4 rules from today to tomorrow. Some do. Or some have grown up in pious families. Like Srila Prabhupada himself says, I have never known what is meat eating, what is intoxication, what is illicit sex, what is gambling. I've never known. So one grows up in a Vaishnava family, like Padma. He has never known any of these 4 sinful desires. And he grows up like that. He will become very, very spiritually strong. Very strong. These are not ordinary children. Demigods are born in human society. And not only demigods, devotees taking birth in families of devotees. And we know from Bhagavad Gītā that an unsuccessful yogi after long practice, he's born into a family of devotees. So we don't know who these souls are. We have to take care of them very, very nicely and show them the way and engage them in devotional service. So, never known what is these four materialistic, lusty desires. So gradually, even if we have engaged in these material sinful activities, as sinful activities, which occur some karma, of course, we have to suffer for that. And we just, after some time, we're losing the taste. We're losing the taste. I have been born in a meat-eating family. I never had much taste, or at least I can remember when I was small. I don't know, maybe 5 years old, maybe 6, 7, don't remember. I just the taste of the meat, and it was so difficult to chew, and that was very difficult. So what I did, I accumulated it in my mouth, in the cheek somewhere. And then with the excuse I have to go to the toilet, I spit it all out in the toilet. So generally children don't like the taste of meat, but they're forced to. Oh, that's good for you. That makes you strong. My father was also saying, meat eating, that makes you strong. I didn't have the argument at the time, otherwise I would have said, Daddy, but the elephant, he's eating only plants and he's very strong. And what is the argument then? Stupid argument, it makes you strong. So, at the beginning, it appears like poison. And at the end, it is like nectar. I cannot even imagine after 50, 60 years, 50 years perhaps, of not touching any meat. I cannot even imagine how it tastes. I don't know how it tastes. I forgot completely. The taste has completely developed in a different way. I know how some gulab jamun and shrikant and simply wonderful taste. That I know. And so we're losing the taste. At the beginning, it's like poison. At the end, or even not the end, even in the middle, more and more it becomes nectar. What to speak of hearing about the beautiful pastimes of the Lord, the beautiful Bhagavad Gītā, as we discussed tonight. This is beautiful Krishna Katha. So that becomes pleasurable. And all other pleasures, they're fading in the background. And we will come to the point where we more and more shall I say, more and more we are engulfed in Krishna consciousness. More and more. Everything, whatever we do, wherever we go, not even consciously. Krishna's always say, it reminds us of Krishna. We're speaking to the birds, we this and that, we're chanting to the birds. And in so many ways, Krishna is just always there. In our mind, on our mind, or we're chanting all the time. And so eventually, as you said, this life or any future life, we will come to the platform of Raga Bhakti, Raga Nuga Bhakti, Raga, spontaneous devotional service. Spontaneous. What's the difference? A mother, as an example, a mother taking care of her child, that is very much spontaneous. It's not, she has a book, and there she's looking, baby cries. Okay, baby cries. A, give some food. B, change the nappy. A mother knows out of spontaneous affection for the child. She automatically knows if the baby cries what she has to do. She picks up the baby and comforts him. So it will become like that. not artificially. At the beginning, we follow his rules and we're reminding ourselves, and later on it becomes automatic. We follow the rules automatically. We chant Hare Krishna automatically. We don't have to say, oh, now you have to chant. We're just chanting continuously. We're just chanting. We're chanting our 16 rounds, and then we chant throughout the day. And we remember Krishna throughout the day. More and more. So eventually it becomes spontaneous. Then we are, as Prabhu explained, then we become nishta, fixed. Nothing can persuade us. Not even the greatest sense pleasure can deviate us. Any thought of sense pleasure, you cannot deviate. We have developed a higher taste. That is, we want to come to that stage of Krishna consciousness, and nishta. Nishta, ruchi, zanvi, that is a stage of taste. Ruchi, taste. Asakti, attachment. Bhava, zanvi, exchanging spiritual emotions with Krishna. That's a very, very advanced stage of Krishna consciousness. And after that is prema, love of God. And then we go home to the spiritual world at the end of this body. Hare Krishna. Amit, any question?
Oh, no question, Prabhu, no question.
So these verses, you picked some really two very nice verses, very important verses. So fall down from contemplating up to falling back into the material pool, into material consciousness. So let's contemplate about Krishna and not the object of the senses. That's the takeaway for tonight. Contemplate about Krishna as much as possible. Here we stop. We're running out of time. Thank you very much. See you Saturday.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.